I made a video about Keffals not too long ago, essentially just criticizing her incessant need to insert herself places where she doesn't belong, and then I started thinking really long and hard. Keffals really does not belong here, like at all. She really does not have a place in the YouTube game or in the streaming game. This is a person who luckily fell into a lot of attention. Granted, a lot of us in this game grew or are currently growing because of luck. And speaking of which, thanks for the support on my previous videos, and welcome everyone else who managed to actually subscribe to me or decide to keep viewing my videos after my previous videos. Anyways, but the point that I'm making here is that she literally, and I mean quite literally, got lucky. But in order to even get lucky in the first place, you sort of have to throw yourself in the pool and just hope you can swim. You have to make something, do something, just put yourself out there to get noticed and hope that what you do is good enough for people to actually enjoy. But the thing with Keffals is that she really didn't do that. She's just not really enjoyable or pleasant person. She's not a pleasant person to view or listen to in any way, shape, or form for that matter. The way Keffals came into relevance at all is because she literally used her identity and the politics and fetishization around it to sort of make herself the focus of whatever was going on around at that time. I'm not going to bring up too much of her past, but the people who know and will get what I'm talking about. But I will use two huge examples in regards to this. The main example that I want to talk about is her conflict with Destiny a while back when she took credit for deplatforming Destiny after some less than savory interactions between the two of them. They had a debate, it went south, Destiny made some slick remarks that Keffals used for an advantage and played victim in possibly the worst way possible. She made some really bad faith arguments against Destiny and cried out to anyone who would listen and pleaded that he would be deplatformed for some of the things he said. Then when it ultimately happened, she gloated and bragged about how she was the main cause of his expulsion from Twitch, which at the time was the platform Destiny would use to stream on and his main source of income. And it's important to mention that detail because she would go on to brag about how she was responsible for taking away his main source of income, and then backpedal because she's a coward, but people didn't let her slide with this. Of course, drama like this, after one of the biggest political streamers gets sniped off the platform, would make the rounds heavily, and there were a lot of eyes on Keffals at the time. Negative or not, this was still good exposure because this is what piqued her relevancy. And of course, through a peak like this, despite the negativities around it, there are going to be some people that probably may agree with you, and those people probably may also want to follow you, which sort of bolstered Keffals' reputation and made her a little bit more popular than what she was prior. So for at least in that instance, her relevancy did peak. And I say that because not too long after, a lot of information she wanted to keep secret came out, and a lot of her dark past was also revealed through several exposés and videos from countless big YouTubers. Thus, she became sort of a lolcow, and we learned about how she even came to a smidge of relevancy in the first place through Kiwi farms, which she would then campaign against and also take credit for wiping off the internet, which once again spiked her relevancy despite being objectively in the wrong. My point with all of this is that throughout her entire existence as a creator, as an influencer, as a lolcow even, none of it was through skill, talent, charisma, or having entertainment value at all. It was just strokes of luck, or in this case, bad luck for actually being recognized by people that honestly shouldn't even have given her the opportunity to make a fool of herself. And each and every time that this happens, she is somehow always the victim. She is somehow always the one that deserves some sympathy or respect for being so brave and having the courage to speak out against bigots. She is never in the wrong for being objectively wrong. Which finally brings me into the now, into what the fuck is going on with her this time around. So if you sat through all of that, thank you. Keffals simply does not belong on the internet. She is not mentally fortified or responsible enough to be here, for her own sake and for the sake of everyone she may interact with. Prime example number one. After making an embarrassment of herself in the Vosh situation and an embarrassment of an attempt of an expose that was the awful Ethan video she made, she goes on to make a video entirely forcing a pity party for herself.
Hey everyone, if you've been wondering why you haven't been seeing me on camera recently, it's because I've been going through kind of a dark time. It's been hard to be on camera and to talk about things, but I kind of just want to lay it all out there. If you're unaware, this is the year anniversary, just a bit over a week now, of everything that happened last year, of when I had to go to rehab. And I know I was the butt of a lot of jokes for having to go to rehab, but the honest truth about that was I was in an incredibly dark place.
Immediately in the video, she goes on to say that she's been dealing with depression and suicidal ideation, which to any of you who are experienced with manipulators know that this is manipulation 101, attempting to make people sympathize with you by making them feel guilty for causing them distress, the classic guilt trip. This video isn't even a good try. It's literally the classic cycle, except it won't work this time. We see through your bullshit. We know you're full of shit and you're desperately attempting to tug at heartstrings so that Big Bad Mutahar would feel bad for making possibly what will be the biggest expose on you since 2022. Now, I'm going to move on to prime example number 2, which is ironic because I know prime example just means like the main example, which means that there can't be two of them, but you get my point. She decided to make an attempt at commentary like many of us losers do, which is ironic because she said she was no longer going to be involving herself in drama and wanted to focus entirely on another version of content, which we will talk about in this video, and tried to cover information over the James Somerton situation, but instead of actually covering James Somerton, she somehow makes his potential suicide, which is something tragic, by the way, all about herself.
I think that this situation speaks to something that I and many other people have long seen as a problem with the internet in general. When people in a community, especially a marginalized community, we want to hold them accountable. But the problem is that there are no actual mechanisms for what accountability is supposed to look like, and everyone has their own different and unique idea of what accountability should be. So no one can actually truly be happy. And in a lot of circumstances, what this leads to is intense harassment campaigns and online scrutiny that lasts for years and destroys careers without any true way for people to redeem themselves after the mistakes that they've made.
I don't understand why it's important for you to somehow tie yourself into this. It's like you want us to empathize with you over harassment campaigns specifically carried for marginalized groups to sort of push an agenda in another guilt trip. Oh, wait, that's actually exactly what you're doing. I and many others see right through this. You want to insert yourself and passively say, hey guys, have pity for me too guys. This affects people like me too guys. Look at me, please, sympathize with us. Please learn to have better ways of reprimanding us for our bad behavior so we don't have to feel bad for our actions, guys. That's literally what you're doing here. Don't think that this is actually a viable method at making people feel bad. This reeks of desperation and failure. Something that sat with me here that especially shows off how this is about her and not about someone who is potentially dying or dead is this right here and the way she says it.
And when your livelihood is tied to how much people like you online, it can feel devastating, absolutely excruciatingly painful and alienating to watch as you're getting ruthlessly dragged online by thousands and thousands of people.
Oddly specific that you mentioned something about how your livelihood is based on how much people like you. Interesting thing to mention. That is totally not projection at all. Sure, it's not like the point of being a creator or anything is making original content that is entertaining, you know? Which leads me into a side topic. Her content is dog shit. Not much to say about that. Apparently she was going to put hardcore effort into making horror style content on her second channel, only for her to just narrate a fucking creepypasta that is nearly 10 years old by now. It's not like that has been done a billion times over by now. That's a completely original idea. Oh wait, it has. By more entertaining people with better talent in storytelling and narration for that matter. Prime example number 3. Now that she's noticed that she is clinging on for dear life and that people genuinely don't give a fuck about her content and her content is genuinely dog shit and she has no skills to be captivating, she decided to do the most low effort shit imaginable. Commentary slop about bullshit drama. And if anybody knows about commentary and how sloppy it is to make and how easy it is to make, it would be me because I'm doing it right now, which she said she was going to abandon like 4 weeks ago. But again, that did not last long at all. Speaking of which, this is probably the most low effort video I'm going to make by far, but I'm making it for a very good reason. People like Keffals are abundant, and unfortunately right now, she's just so easy to talk about because she highlights everything wrong with pandering to an audience and grifting. Everything wrong about being a talentless loser who got by just getting lucky and appealing to the right audience. which is ironic because at some point she mentioned something about how getting too wrapped up in the mob can be exciting, but can ultimately end up biting you in the ass after you yourself screw up. And I say this is ironic because it's an incredibly hypocritical and out of touch statement to make coming from her when she was actively trying to cancel Ethan for pedo jacketing in support of Vosh, and I don't even have to mention the bullshit in regards to Destiny and Kiwi Farms.
And the problem with incentivizing this kind of behavior is, yeah, it might feel good to be part of the mob, but when the mob turns on you, no one is going to be there to help you.
Anyways, wrapping this up now. I don't like Keffals at all, but I actually do feel bad for her as much as I don't want to. That being said, the best advice for her is to literally separate herself from the internet before she gets eaten alive. She needs to quit while she has any support left. She needs to quit while she's ahead, because as much as I hate to say it, she's right. And if she's seriously struggling, the fallout from this will not fare well, especially after Muduhar drops this video. Also, channel information for anyone who watches this far. I do commentary slop. I love commentary slop, but I also like making the more or story or documentary style videos too. That being said, I will be uploading both on this channel, saving commentary slop for in between the week and making extensive videos for the weekends. That's all. Thanks for watching. Later.